I'll hand it over to my good friend David. Thanks, David. Thanks.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you.
Boy, after Jonathan and Sal, I kind of want to just pause in gratitude.
Thank you.
Chris, such a tribute will happen very rarely in a life, no matter how long. God bless you. Congratulations on what Jonathan said about you. And Jay, thanks for your leadership in Arkansas. A great state for advanced placement being fair and available for all students. Truly amazing. I'm elevated this morning to address the citizen leaders of NASBE. Those of you who lead from the chair of school boards are one of the only continuous sources of stability we often have in education. The work of education, the development of hope through practice, the cultivation of talents takes time. And it is your steady leadership that keeps that rudder. I was having a fun conversation this morning with the board chair from this great state of Georgia, and what an amazing impact that leadership is now having in providing clarity in a state. So thank you for the work you do. I consider you kind of first among parents, if that's okay. I consider you citizen representatives in this field, and I want to address you in that way. I want to talk to you about what it means that I'm president of the College Board, an institution that's lasted more than 100 years, and what I think we need to do to earn your respect, to earn our role in young people's lives. Because, frankly, and this is somewhat controversial, I think for some time we may have lost our way. College Board was founded 100 years ago when a group of colleges felt that it was not okay that they were recruiting students just from a very small part of American society. And in that rare thing happened, they actually decided to do something about it. So they got together an exam to try to open up admission to anyone of merit rather than only those of privilege. But when I became president of the College Board 5 years ago, how many people in our society do you think felt that devices like the SAT and things like it were opening up opportunity for anyone on a level playing field? I think people thought that we were certifying the inequalities that already exist in our society. There were some who believed in assessment and merit, but even those had to acknowledge that things like unequal access to test prep and other forces were making it much murkier than it ought to be. So I faced a fundamental question, and my sense is the College Board had to rededicate itself to the unfinished work for which it was founded. And frankly, that did not mean more tests. We have enough tests. What we need are opportunity. And it's my conviction that in this country, assessment without opportunity is dead. And we need a change. So I've been thinking and refining what it would be for the College Board to reignite its founding intensity, vitality. And I've come up with 10 principles I think we need to follow. And I thought I would very briefly share you with them. And there's one thing that's so important it goes beyond a principle, and I'll get to it last. But the first thing we had to do was make the SAT more than fair. That's my first principle. Make the SAT more than fair. What do I mean by that? We redesigned the entire test, as you know, in 2014. If you all face political pressures sometimes, that is an awfully fun thing to do at a time in America when assessment is extremely popular. Good news, America, I have a new test for you. Every time you think a good deed doesn't go unpunished, you can talk to me and feel a little better. But why did we redesign the test? Because we had to eliminate every vestige of its aptitude past. What I mean by aptitude is a test that measures something about you that is hard to understand and hard to change. That was the old test. You can't really change it. I don't really understand this. What about instead a test that is easy to understand and easy to change through practice, that only tests the things that you most often learn in high school and most often will learn in college and use in college, or career training, by the way. What about that being the bargain? We don't ask you to go through 4 years of high school and then, by the way, study all this stuff for the SAT. How is that ever sane? Why would you ever want to do anything for the SAT? That's crazy. You should study those things you're going to use over and over again to be stronger in every next thing you do. What does that mean? It means SAT words go away. Why? What is the definition of an SAT word? It is a word you have not seen before and shall not likely see again. The opposite should be true of what's on the exam. Instead, on this exam, you have to read an article in science, including data, and analyze it, in social studies. On this exam now, there is always one of the founding documents of this country, or a document from the great global conversation of liberty and human dignity it inspires. Why? Because that short set of documents are the most widely referred to documents in this country. Not because they're obscure, but because they're the opposite of obscure. That knowledge is a source of power every day, as a citizen, I might add, as well as a college student. The new SAT is designed to be aligned with the standards you're requiring of students, to be like a reflection of the best work they do every day in class. And how could it have ever made sense? Gone are the tricky math problems. Gone is the penalty for guessing. Gone are all the things that gave rise to a test prep industry that argued it had special secrets into this exam. We have designed the new SAT to be the easiest place for students to do their best work. We want it to be a broad invitation. Number two, so that was principle number one. Number two, I'll say one more thing about that because I'm fairly passionate about that. You know what else we did in the redesign of the test? We added 45% more time per question than any other similar exam. Why? Because one of the worst sins of the testing industry has been to confuse quick and smart. Many of the deepest thinkers are deliberate, careful readers, careful workers, and it's time we honored their work at high-stakes moments in this country. Number two, never give someone one chance to be great. It was never a good idea to say to someone, you gotta be great, you gotta be awesome, and here's your one chance to do it. That's why we redesigned the PSAT along the same design and offer it now throughout the beginning of high school. That is, beginning at the end of 8th, the beginning of 9th grade, and every year successively. And Sal already covered this. How many of you took a PSAT? May I ask? It's a lot of you. Look around. How many of you, hold your hand up if you did something useful with it? A couple of you, and maybe those are the National Merit Scholars in the audience, so congratulations. We give it in 11th grade with partnership with the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. But that troubles me. To give a mass blood test, an unpleasant experience to a large number of people, and only help those few who score at the very highest level was never really a sane approach to life, was it? But what if for every young person, the PSAT is no longer just a practice test, but the beginning of practice? What if it was that moment where they suddenly got personal feedback and an invitation to attend whatever they missed along the way that is now holding them back? I'll tell you something. Another mistake about the PSAT. The PSAT does not tell you your potential. I know that sounds strange. Isn't that just what it's supposed to do? It does tell you what you would have scored today on the SAT. But it cannot tell you what you will score tomorrow. Only God knows potential. The rest of us know it through practice. We cannot know who we are going to be until we devote ourselves, like Jonathan did, and press ourselves into that work. The PSAT doesn't tell you who you are, but it is an invitation to who you might be through practice. And that is why we had to do the next thing we did, which, number three, we had to make the best of practice free for all. For too long, the College Board turned its head and said, have any of you heard us saying this over the year? Test preparation doesn't matter. No one believed it. And so throughout our society, the conviction was that some had special advantages, others did not. That is an attack on our mission because it discourages the kids we are trying to reach from even entering the game when they think the playing field is not level. And that is why in perhaps the finest decision we will ever make, we decided to call Sal Khan and make the best of test preparation free for the world forever. If any of you are business people, you realize I destroyed my own business when I did this, but that's a whole other conversation. But let me talk to you a bit for a moment about that. You've seen the results. Students who practice on an average of 20 hours through this personalized learning grow on average 115 points on a 1600 scale. That's a lot. There are over 16,000 students in this country who grew more than 200 points on our scale. They are earning their future. And I'll tell you, some people have misunderstood what we did. And another group, I won't name them, said, for example, we'll provide test prep for free, but only for the low-income students, and we'll charge the rest of students. I think that misreads the mood of this country. The growing rage of the working class of this country, of the middle class, for the taxes on the way to college cannot be tolerated anymore. We at the College Board and Khan Academy share a simple principle, which is free for all. And with that ideal, kids have responded. Any sense of how many young people have taken up our challenge and are practicing for free on Khan Academy? It's only our second year. Just any sense? Any guesses? Why not? I won't give you a score, I promise. 5 million. Never lose your faith, whatever other things adolescents do, that if you clear a path, they will not follow. We at the College Board believe that our fundamental purpose is clearing a path for all students to own their future. I hope it won't upset you if I say, I really don't care that much about SAT scores. I know that's strange. But what do I care about? What I care about is a young person through practice learning the invaluable and life-changing lesson that they can change their own trajectory through their own power and work. That is a lesson that prepares them for college, for work, for citizenship, and can never be unlearned. It gives Jonathan the holy confidence with which he addresses and thanks us this morning. And Jonathan, what an elevation that was. But he changed. He wasn't the same person before when Chris said to him, you are here, right? For so long, that's been a statement of fate. You're below the line. And that line was like a wall. But then through practice, Jonathan found that he ascended it. And not only did the wall come down, but he was an athlete forever after. That is our purpose. That's why we are doing everything we are doing. The anxiety about the SAT may be silly, and in many ways, I think it is. But we must use that moment to encourage, to transform, to move from an unproductive anxiety to an earned confidence. And with that, I'll just show you a brief video.
I used to stutter a lot. I couldn't speak to someone. I couldn't look at them in their eyes. Like, everything was just intimidating to me. I used to be a totally different person before I got into the program. Look at me now. I'm the group commander. I'm number one. I'm in charge. To the rear. March! I really want to be a lawyer inside the military, and I have to do a lot of things to get there. And that's what I love about it, because it pushed me to study, just like ROTC pushed me. I'm a very determined person. I won't stop until I get what I want. So practice, 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 and practice for my SAT. If I have to study more, if I have to stay up, I will do it to get there. You know, there's a reward at the end, but I'm not working for the reward. You know, I'm working for something bigger. I'm gonna keep going because this is what I want to do. This is my goal, and I want to accomplish it.
Finally, number 4. Oh, I just have to tell you one good piece of good news. I'm not sure you heard. We recently announced that we've extended our partnership with Khan Academy, not just for SAT, but for every advanced placement classroom in this country. There will be free practice for students. Just as it was never right that some kids could afford costly test preparation and some could not, it was never right that some AP teachers in this country had access to great resources because of the district they happen to be in or the school they happen to be in. We will be providing a set of free resources to every AP teacher in this country, high-quality resources for assessment, for personalizing instruction, to help those kids who are at the edge of performance cross that challenge, and they, of course, will be for free. Number 4, we must fulfill the broken promises of assessment. Many of you as school board members have been brave in supporting assessment in your states. And I don't think we've done a good enough job giving you something defensible. That is, if you want to defend a test like the SAT, you should say, I better stay near the mic, I guess. You could say, it helps us find diamonds in the rough. Have you heard this argument? We need to give the SAT because it finds that kid who's in a tough high school, it illuminates them, and we find them and they go on to college. So we looked at the data. Jose, do I need money? I'll just stay here. Don't go through this. Yeah. Could most of you hear me? Yeah. So assessment should provide you help finding diamonds in the rough. We've all heard that said. That's why we give these exams. So we looked at the data. It turns out that if you're in the top 10% of performance on the SAT, that's really high. But also in the bottom quartile of income in this country, so you are poor. But you're an athlete. Think of this young person. They've overcome all the invisible and visible barriers of poverty to score at the very highest level. 50% of such young people in America do not apply to a single selective college. They betray themselves. Not everyone has a Chris, frankly. And so what we found is that's a broken promise. We made a promise that if you took this test, we would find you and help you. And you may say, hey, College Board, that's not your fault, right? Those kids, you just provide the exam. What that family does with it, that's not your problem. But while it may not be our problem, while it may not be our fault, excuse me, it most certainly is our problem. Because if we give up the very promise of these assessments, how can we defend giving them any more altogether? So we found out what was going on. It turns out, if you want to apply to selective college, you first have to apply for a fee waiver to apply to that college. Think about how discouraging that is. Before I apply to you to go to college, I'd first like to tell you that I'm poor and need the admissions fee waived. We thought that was wrong. Since we already gave kids who are low income fee waivers to take the SAT for free, we went to all our member colleges, which are just about all the colleges in America, and we said, how about you join us? How about if we've given a fee waiver, why don't you trust us? I doubt they got rich in that 6-month period before they took the test. And how about you waive the fee waiver, give them a fee waiver to admission to your college? The colleges followed us. Today, every young person who takes the new SAT gets in their name 4 fee waivers to apply to college for free. Bar none, my best days at work are when we send them out. One kid posted them on Instagram. He said, the College Board sent me fee waivers because I am awesome. He did not say because he was poor. Number 5, we must expand access to advanced coursework for which credit is earned, not given. I think these days that I could not be more excited about the best work that's happening in advanced placement. And to give you an example of what's gone on, AP has gone from a program in which virtually no students were poor to 1/4 of the students today. It used to be a small elite program, like let's own that. But over the last 20 years, it's transformed from 1.35 million students taking it to 2.7 million. 5 million exams taken last year. Now, let's be candid, because we're in private. When you talk about expanding access, what does everyone think? That you're going to reduce the standard, right? In other words, it's almost like a nightclub. If they told you they're suddenly allowing everyone in, you would not think it might improve. The velvet rope has its power in our imagination. So we expand access to advanced placement, and look what happens. Performance stays as strong with doubled access. Don't believe me. Believe Nat Malkus from AEI, from the American Enterprise Institute, who did an independent study. He called it the happiest education story of the American century. That the radical expansion of in advanced placement had in no way diluted the standards of advanced placement. He did separate work tying the results to NAEP to show there is no diminution in AP standards, and under my leadership and forevermore, this College Board shall never water down the standards of advanced placement. Because when you earn an advanced placement credit, you are saying, and we can prove, that you're ready to take an advanced course in that discipline. I will say I'm a super huge fan, for example, of early college and dual credit opportunities to get students the experience of college. But something I am worried about in candor is that 97% of students get credit from those experiences versus 57% with advanced placement. And that may be great news if we are giving out credit, but I think it is the earning of it that changes you. It is actually doing college level work. I fear debt without degree. I fear students who are told they're college ready dishonestly. Number 6, we cannot bypass rural communities any longer when expanding advanced placement. We can no longer allow economies of scale to neglect rural America. Let me put this to you very bluntly. The excuse for all of us is the classrooms are too small, there's no AP there. Once again, it may not be our fault, but it most certainly is our problem. And I will not participate in the lie that providing virtual instruction is enough for rural students. That is, without a trained adult or coach, you see, the trained person is the recruiter. Teachers or a coach is the person who says to a kid that didn't believe in themselves, hey, you should try advanced placement, you can do it. If you just rely on virtual alone, virtual is an essential part of the solution, but a caring adult, a caring mentor is always essential in inspiring young people to learn. The College Board declares that it shall invest over the next 5 years in whatever rural school it needs to, that wants to join us in advanced placement, whatever the cost to us, because we are a nonprofit organization, and that is our commitment, period. And that means that we can do some really interesting things. If you look at our new advanced placement computer science principles course, in 1 year of it beginning, there are double the number of young black Americans earning advanced computer science in the United States, from 2,000 to 5,000. In young women, 13,000 to 27,000. In Latinos, 6,000 to 15,000. Because in this new course, you're not asked just to code, you're asked to build an app, and that's exciting students everywhere. But gosh darn it, I will not let that good news break on the walls of rural America. We are going to work with you to make advanced placement computer science principles the gateway to our new economy, available to any student who wants it, no matter how small their learning community is at school or at home. 7, we must end the war between college and career. For too long, we've been talking as if there's this one thing career and this other thing college, and college is right for everyone. My view, frankly, is we need to give kids choices and power, and their families. And so quite simply, when we redesigned the SAT, we talked to employers about what were the core skills they most needed. When we redesigned AP CSP, employers are so excited to recruit a more diverse set of students. And then we announced a partnership with Road Trip Nation. For every 8th and 9th grader who takes our exams, or in 10th grade or 11th grade, they have free career planning through the Road Trip Nation tool to imagine their future and then act accordingly. And of course, it is free. I'll tell you what kids don't need for a career, by the way, is another test. Please save your time and theirs. There is no single test that tells you whether you're career ready or not. That we even have that idea is astonishing to me. But what you can do is allow assessment to begin a student on a personal journey to chart their path to pursue what they might gain. I'm going to speed up with 3 quick final principles. Number 8, knowledge matters in civic education. And by the way, so does free speech. We have launched an AP Government and Politics course that I invite any of you to read in a quiet moment. I know there may be other things you'd rather read. You will see a master class on this nation's Constitution. You will see a master class on the First Amendment. You will see a partnership between us and the Constitution Center for an interactive Constitution where you can trace the language of each amendment and see it across the world, and it, like other things, shall always be free. Why? Because civics, where you try to go to the game without knowing anything, and try to jeer at the other side is not a productive civics for this country. Engagement without knowledge is not helping us, my friends. It is time to recommit to civics in this country, but also the knowledge that makes it a true source of power, and the principles of respect and free speech that are essential in high school and in college. Number 9, education is soulcraft. For too long, people in my field have tried to sell the idea of it's about making college and career-ready kids. I just want us all to be careful. That is a noble aim, but let us remember these are not things on an assembly line. These are young people embodied with souls. Their character is at stake, their sense of who they are, their sense of what they can achieve through practice. We have a holy obligation to get that right, and we also must do much better to honor the education that happens in religious schools and in home schools in this country. My first editorial under my name was a defense of Wheaton College in Illinois, the evangelical Christian college, the great evangelical Christian college, that was under threat of its accreditation. We must stop the unhealthy war and honor the beauties of education if it's in a secular college, a religious college, a home, a school, a Catholic school, any school. Any education is beautiful. And finally, coming from me, this may seem rich, we must end the insanity of the admissions process. Folks, it's not okay. The saddest days at work are when parents tell me, my kids are so busy. What happened to faith, family, and fun in adolescence? So here's what I suggest. On the Common Application to College, there are 12 boxes for your extracurriculars outside of school. Why not make them 3? 3 devotions. If you want to do more to get into college, God bless you. If you want to do more things, but none of it will get you into college. Am I making sense? We should invite young people to, at most, 1 or 2 things outside of class that they can devote themselves to. And that might be work or their family or a project or something they're excellent at. But when you ask for 12, you are inspiring madness. I think for too long the College Board has turned the other cheek as our instruments are used as part of this madness, and that's why I'm trying to do everything I can to transform the unproductive anxiety that surrounds college admissions in this country with a calm and confidence at all levels of our society for students earning their future. I'll only say this, beyond these principles, there's a simple principle that animates us. While schools are great, the heart of education is the home, is parents and the family. In everything we do, we are redesigning it to bring them in to this conversation. Thank you so much. Those are the principles on which we will act. I now want to call up Sal and Jonathan for a couple of minutes.